What's going on, Rovers? Mr. Shalat back with another video. Today we're going to be talking about multi-view sketching. All right. This is a big week. Multi-view sketching is probably one of the most important things we're going to be going over in this entire unit, probably the whole first marking period for that matter. All right. Understanding how a multi-view sketch works, looking at an object and determining the three sides of that object, the front, the right, and the top that we've kind of talked about on our drawing assignments during this unit is very important. Okay. So we have to understand it's all been building to this moment to talk about multi-view sketching. All right. We got to understand how to break things down. All right. So I'm going to share my screen out with you. You guys can take a look at the PowerPoint, play, pause, and rewind if you're getting stuck or I'm going too fast. You can rewind and listen to what I say. But this is a big week. We're going to be spending some time on multi-view sketching. This isn't going to be a once and done thing where we just keep on moving. We're going to spend some time here because it's super important. Okay. If you don't understand this, you're really going to struggle in the class. So I make sure that everybody understands it. We're going to go nice and slow. We'll do several assignments that all deal with multi-view sketching just to really ram the point home. All right. So we're going to be spending some time here talking about multi-view sketching. Let's get the presentation started. Use slideshow. All right, I think we're good. Blow the video up a little bit. Okay, let's get started. So multi-view sketching. All right. Um, Slide this down out of the way. All right. So multi-view drawing shows two or more two-dimensional views of a three-dimensional object. Okay. So a two-dimensional, meaning on a piece of paper, we are taking a object in real life and getting it down onto paper and showing that in either two or three views. All right. It's going to provides the shape with a description of the object because you'll be looking at it from multiple directions. And when combined with dimensions, which is something we will get to down the road, dimensions is super important and that gets combined with multi-view sketching, but we will not be talking about dimensions just yet. We'll add those once everybody understands a multi-view drawing. Okay, when combined with dimensions, it serves as the main form of communication from the designer and the manufacturer. Okay, so what is that person creating? They send the plans off for it to be made. Manufacturing reads those drawings and recreates that particular piece based off of those drawings. Okay, so that's how the designers and the manufacturers of those parts will communicate through these detailed drawings known as multi-view. Okay, so if we look here, this is a multi-view sketch. All right, it's a multi-view sketch of a dining room chair. All right, now we have spent some time back when we did concept sketching talking about um, determining a front view. And we know the front view is the longest side that shows the most detail or the most distinct shape. All right, when we look at this dining room chair, okay, over here, we're looking at an ISO drawing of it. You guys have been doing some ISO drawings in here. All right, we take a look at that. We break it down into three different ways. So I'm going to look at it from the front, okay, from the right-hand side, and then from the top. So when we look at this from the front, it's a straight on view. Okay, you're looking directly at the chair. We can see the back that has the angles, okay, and it's just a straight on shot. When we look at it from the right, our right view and our left view, they end up being the same thing, okay, because the chair is symmetrical. If we cut this thing right down the middle, the chair is the same on both sides. All right, we will not be doing a whole lot of drawings that have a left view. Okay, so when you take a look at this, the right and the left view, we don't do a whole lot of drawings that have a left view, but there are some, and we'll scatter those in as the course goes on. But for our primary focus, what I want you guys to focus on here, all right, are these three views over here. And that's your front, your right, and your top. Okay, so on the right, we would see this side of the chair, and then the aerial view, you see the base of the chair that you don't get to see in those other two views. We're going to ignore the left view. Very few times we're going to need a left view. Okay, and we'll talk more about that as we go through the unit. All right. Here's a piece that you guys have already previously drawn in different assignments. All right. It's a multi-view drawing. When we take a look at this, okay, when we look at our ISO drawing here, remember back to the left, this is always our front view. Back to the right, that's our right side view. And the top would be the aerial view when you're looking at this thing from the sky. Okay. Now they have put some dimensions on here. We'll talk more about that at a later time. Okay. We're not going to talk about dimensions right now. I just want you to understand though, when you look at this thing, all right, we're looking at this drawing, this being, it's the longest side. It shows us the L. Okay. So that ends up being our front view. Then you're going to see these lines here. These are these dotted lines. Okay. These dotted lines are known as hidden lines. Okay. Hidden lines. Now, what a hidden line is, it's a line that's there, but you can't see it. And you have to represent that on your drawing. So looking at this particular piece, okay, we have this L, but there are surfaces that we can't necessarily see. If you look back here, this line and this line, okay, if we're looking at it from this direction, we can't see where that line is at, okay? So we have to represent that right here in our drawing. That's known as a hidden line. And then up top, where this castle piece is up here at the top, you have that line and that line. They share that common line. That's what this line is here. So if you're looking at this drawing and you're like, what are those dashed lines? Those are known as hidden lines. And we're going to be spending some time talking about hidden lines moving forward. Okay. So multi-view drawing. All three-dimensional objects have a width, height, and depth. And we know that because we've spent so much time talking about our perspective drawings. And then we also talked about our ISO drawings. So we talk width, depth, and height. All right. We kind of already understand what those are. But if you want to pause the slide and read it, you can. Remember the width, side to side, the height is vertical, all right, from top to bottom, and then front to back, it represents our depth. All right. But after this unit, you guys have a firm belief, firm understanding of what a width, height, and depth are when we're looking at a drawing. Okay. Because we did that in ISO. We also did that just now in perspectives, and now we're moving into multi-view drawings. Okay. All right. So what they're doing here, and I'll get my camera out of the way here. They're taking this particular photo. This is something that we've seen this drawing before in other slideshows. Okay, we have our front, top, and our right side view. We know what those are. This here being a shared side, because when we're looking at it from the right, we see this surface on the right. But also, if we're looking at it from the sky and looking directly down at it, we see this surface, but also this surface. Okay, so this is a shared side. This is why this one doesn't have a name on it, whereas front, top, and right, they all do. This one here ends up being a shared surface. So we take our front view and we sketch that over here. And what they're doing is they're showing you the rotation of the piece. So if I would take that piece and rotate it to its top, that's how we see our top view. And here they're taking that object and they're rotating it to the right, rotate, rotate, and you get to see those two rectangles there. Okay? Looking good. Height, width, and depth. We've hammered that home this unit. Okay. So we have to talk about orthographic projection line. Okay. This line that's over here on the right is a 45-degree angled line. That line is going to allow us, okay, the height of our object. If we're looking at our front view, we know the height and we know the width. Okay. We take that information and we share that out. So the height of our front view is shared over to here on our side view, and the height of our side view is the same as the height of our front view. Okay. The width of our front view is also the width of our top view. And then the depth, how far deep this thing is, okay, well, how far deep the top view is then shared through that 45-degree line and brought down here for our depth dimension. Okay, so the width of our right side view is the depth of our top view. Okay. All right, so what does that explain? Okay, orthographic projection is a technique used to create a multi-view drawing, any projection of the feature of the object onto an imaginary plane of projection. The projection of the features of the object is made by lines of sight that are perpendicular to the plane of the feature. What does all that mean? I'm going to explain it. Okay, so if that sounds like a big tongue twister, that's okay. We're going to explain it, breaking it down. The best way to understand orthographic projection is to imagine your object inside of a box. We have been doing the box method on every type of drawing we've done. So we have already determined, okay, the six sides of this thing. We know what the height is and the width is and the depth is. We've put our imaginary box around it, okay? Each wall represents a projection plane. So when you look at this side over here, this is determining our front view. This part of the box is determining our top view, and the one on the right over here is determining our right side view. Projection plane, also referred to as the plane of projection or a picture plane, is an imaginary surface that exists between the viewer and the object, the surface onto which a two-dimensional view of a three-dimensional object is projected or created. Okay, so you start by focusing on the front projection plane. All right, we know what the front is. It's the longest side, showing the most detail. In this particular scenario, it's showing us that angle. Okay, a person standing in front of the object would only see the 5 corners identified in the black. So we are seeing these 5 points that go around the object. If a person is standing over here, that's all they're going to see. They're not going to see any of this other stuff. Okay. Projection lines are used to project each corner outward until they've reached the projection plane. So they have pulled this imaginary glass box around and they brought those points out to the plane. So when they are constructing their front view, they have determined where those points are going to land. Okay. An imaginary line that is used to locate, project the corners, edges, and features of a three-dimensional object on an imaginary two-dimensional surface, a projection line. All right, so projection lines are going to be real light construction lines that we use in order to create our other views. All three views in a multi-view drawing will end up working together, okay? The information that we use on our front view is used on both the top and the right side view. The information that we use on the right side view is used on both the front and the top. So whichever view you pick, the other two are going to help you create that particular drawing. All right. The visible edges of the object are then identified on the projection plane by connecting the projected corners with object lines. All right. So what is an object line? An object line is what you use last. Okay. So you guys have been using object lines and you don't realize it. So when we did our concept sketching, you drew everything nice and light. And then when you were finished, you went back in and you darkened it in. One pass of the pencil, you darkened in that object line. Okay. Or when you did your perspective drawings, you did everything nice and light. And then once you knew you had the solution, you came back in, one pass with the pencil, and you darkened it in. So the darkest line on your drawing is known as an object line. That is the final line. The lines prior to that were construction lines. So a construction line is a light line that helps you get to an object line. So when you're creating lines and you're not darkening them in yet, those are construction lines. An object line, which they're talking about here, okay, an object line is you darkening it in. Okay, that's you darkening in your lines. All right. An orthographic projection process is repeated on the other projection planes. All right, let's take a look at what they have here. So here they're showing you this particular drawing. All right. And the front ends up being this surface, and this surface. If we're looking at it in that direction, Here's our front view. Okay. Here's our right view, which would be this next shade of darkened in on the cubes. All right, and then the top is the white surface or the looking at it from the sky. Please ignore where it's saying the rear, the left, the bottom. That is all just trying to confuse you. All right. We're not dealing with that. All of our drawings are going to have a front, a right, and a top. Don't worry about what they're trying to have you do, drawing the bottom of this, and we're not doing that. Okay, we're not. Eventually, we'll get there, but it's too early in the process for you to understand it. Right now, I really want you to be able to just look at this and determine what is the front view. Well, when I look at this in this direction, what do I see? I see this box, I see this rectangle, and I see that box. So when I sketch that out, here's what I have. I see the two boxes and then the longer rectangle, this one in that space. When I look at it from the right, I see these two boxes, okay? And I also see this surface right there, all right? And then we have to do the top view. So we end up seeing those three blocks. We'll talk about how to get that in a future slide here. Okay, orthographic view selection. Recommendations on how to select the best front view. We are going to breeze right past this slide because we have talked about how to pick the best front since the very first lesson we did of concept sketching. Okay. You guys are experts in choosing your front view. You know that it's the longest side that shows the best detail. Okay. Whatever that distinctive shape might be. All right. Fewest hidden lines. You don't really know what those are yet. I've talked about it a little, but we'll get to it. The most stable and natural position of the object. Okay. So if you're holding that stapler, the stapler would not be upside down. Okay. The natural position is for it to be right side up. All right. But we're not gonna talk a whole lot about front views because we've spent a lot of time talking about those already. All right. So let's continue to take a look here. View selection. They're saying that's your best front view. I think they've actually used this slide in a different presentation. We don't necessarily need to see it now. All right, number of orthographic projections, one view, uniform thickness of a shape. Two views would be identical. Oh, what are they talking about here? Uniform thickness of the shape. Two views would be identical. Okay, well, they're not actually showing you the object, but what they're getting at is if I would take this particular shape here, and then if this is the front view, and then I draw the top view of it, this being some rounded type cylinder type shape, they would look exactly the same. Okay, there would be no variance between this and a top view. So that's what they're referring to on this slide. We're going to skip over this. Number of projections, two views. They're not giving you enough information on this slide. Ooh, this is a good one. Okay, so I'd like you to draw along with this. All right, I'd like you to draw along with this. So what you're going to do is you're going to create this shape, but we're going to do it as a multi-view drawing. Okay, so we're going to break it down. Let's take a look. So get a blank piece of paper. You're going to follow along as we draw this. All right. All right. So the basic layout when you are doing your front, your right, and your top. Okay. The basic layout that you're going to have here. You need to determine how big this image is actually going to be. Okay. So based off of the information that I give you, and it was on a previous slide here, so I'm probably going to have to go back and reference it. We need to know the overall height and the overall width of our shape. On your grid paper, okay, so you've got a ton of grid paper. What I want you to do is you're going to count out this box. So we're going to draw this particular shape right here in this box, but to determine the size of it, let me see if they give you, they tell you the size of everything here. Let me see if they give you numbers. I don't think they do. So what I'm going to do is I am going to stop the video. Let me stop sharing my screen. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing the screen. All right. And then I'm going to start a new video. Okay. In the next video, it will be step by step breaking down of how to draw this multi-view drawing. So the castle piece that we just saw, that's the one we're going to be drawing. All right. But I need to reference the size of it that was on an earlier slide. So what I mean by that is, let me switch back over here so I can share out my screen. All right. They want us to draw. Scroll up, scroll up, scroll up. This is the drawing that we're going to do together as a group. Okay. This is the one we're going to do. But unfortunately, when I do this in person, I normally print this out and we could reference the numbers. But since I'm in PowerPoint, I can't get to what those numbers are. So when you go to draw this, okay, these are the numbers that we're going to be using. I would suggest, if you have a cell phone, to just snap a picture of what this screen looks like. All right. And so you can reference those numbers as we're doing the drawing. Because if you're watching me on YouTube, um, the YouTube video, you're not going to be able to have this and the drawing on the screen at the same time. And even if you do with the split view that you guys know how to use, it'd be difficult to read the numbers. So I would just snap a quick picture of this. All right. If you have a phone, great. If not, you can use your iPad. Um, but you're going to need these numbers. We're going to be referencing these numbers, and I'm not going to be able to have these on the screen when I go through the process of how to do this particular drawing. Okay, so please make sure you can reference these numbers as I am going through the video that I am going to record right now. All right, so I will see you on the next video. Thanks.